Hey everybody, welcome to the Irresistible Brand podcast. I am Matt Deutschman. I'm the owner of Doubletake Promotional Marketing. And since 2010, we've been helping colleges and universities and corporations in various industries with promotional products and branded merchandise. And over the years, the four key strategic initiatives we typically support with promotional products are client appreciation, referral generation, employee engagement and retention, and recruiting and onboarding. Companies that execute these four areas well develop an irresistible brand, which clients can't help but refer to others, employees can't help but promote, and recruits can't wait to join. Thus, the Irresistible Brand podcast, where I talk with other leaders in those key strategic areas. Really excited to be joined today by Randy Ostrow. Randy is the founder of Ostrow Advisory Services, which was established in 2004 to help successful professionals be more memorable, stand apart from the competition, and build deep, authentic relationships. They create and deploy 100% custom direct marketing strategies, which help ensure that their clients make incredible, memorable impressions time after time and show up differently. Heartfelt communication leads to genuine emotional connections, and this is where the magic often happens. Randy, thank you so much for joining me. And just to kick it off, what does the concept of an irresistible brand mean to you?
Well, Matt, thank you for having me, and that introduction was great. It's because it's all based on the truth. Irresistible Brand, it means something to me. About 6 weeks ago, a friend of mine forwarded me a report from McKinsey. And McKinsey is this global consulting mammoth company, and they spent a lot of money figuring out what was the most powerful form of advertising. And after can't even imagine how many millions of dollars spent, they come up with word of mouth advertising is the most powerful form of advertising. So when you ask me about an irresistible brand is a company that offers a product or a service where their customer or their client is so happy with what they've received and the way that they've received it, that they can't help but refer others to it. So to me, I'm not smart enough to answer the question, but McKinsey is, and they told me word of mouth advertising is the most powerful. So to me, if you have an irresistible brand, you have people who are helping your sales force to spread the word.
Well, I think that's an important thing to bring up. When you say word of mouth, I think a lot of people assume that word of mouth equates to something that's organic and something that can't be structured, can't be strategized, and it's just sort of haphazard. Like you just hope that people pass on the good word to someone else. And that's where I think what you specifically do for your clients and what this whole concept of an irresistible brand is all about is how do we identify what actually makes people pass on that word and then do more of it and incentivize and keep people, promoting that brand? That's where I think that value is. So maybe speak.
Well, I'll just share a quick story with you about a client that I have who's in the financial services business, and they have some of their clients who call their office very regularly. And they call, I believe, because they're lonely and because they want somebody to talk to. And they're a bit of a Yenta. I don't know if that word means anything to you, but we had a training recently about the Yenta Factor. And what that means is if you have someone who's calling you and spending an inordinate amount of time talking, chances are in their personal life, they do the same thing. So instead of resisting the Yenta, you wrap your arms around them and you now have a warrior who's going to go and sing your praises. So to say that it can be strategic, of course it can be strategic. It's a matter of, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say if you ever read The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell,
there you go.
He talks about, I forget what the title he uses for the type of person that is, but it's the person who basically about anything. Oh, I just found this new ice cream place. They're going to tell everybody about it and just blab about it ad nauseum. Like you want to find that person. I just read this book. I just did this. Like you want to find who those people are. And even if they drive you nuts in some ways, you can get, a piece of what they're blabbing about, then boom, you just hit on an unbelievable grassroots marketing impact.
And it was strategic because you thought about it. I don't watch the show The Office very much, but my wife and kids years ago, when my kids were a little younger, they watched it all the time. And the reason I'm bringing it up is because I think the character Michael, I think was his name, the Steve Carell character, when he was the boss there, I think that he used similar strategies to plant information with someone who he knew would go and make something happen. So even within an organization, Matt, that stickiness, it's something that can be strategic. And I don't mean to sound so deliberate about things, but the truth is, we're in the business. You asked me a question. What was the question? How we started? It's the irresistible brand. So if you can have your, not only employees and your staff and your clients or your customers, just to use those words interchangeably, feel so good about it that they can't help but share that news, it's awfully powerful. And again, according to McKinsey, it's more powerful than a Super Bowl ad. So there's a lot to say there.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's all about leveraging that power. How do you leverage it? And there's nothing wrong with making that a strategy and being deliberate about it. It's not cold-hearted to put effort into tapping into that power of word of mouth. I think that's kind of the point I was making. It's not like, just because it's something that happens sort of organically doesn't mean that you can't create a strategy behind it and set yourself up, give yourself the at-bats to have that power leverage. And so, in what you do, the specific type of work that you do, you have an entire program of producing handwritten cards for clients to be able to use. I think we all understand the value in writing a handwritten note to someone, right. And oftentimes it's something that is on our to-do list, right? Like, oh yeah, I definitely need to write some handwritten thank you cards to my clients. I need to write handwritten thank you cards, maybe even to my suppliers who take good care of us. Few people actually set aside the time to do it. And so that's where you become very valuable. You're able to create systems for clients of yours to do that and offload some of the actual labor in doing so. Can you talk a little bit about the power of that in helping with with client loyalty and referrals and whatnot?
Yeah, absolutely. My business was really born because I recognized it 17 years ago at this point, back in 2004, that a lot of very smart people who are really good at what they do aren't necessarily good at staying in touch with their 4 categories. And you and I have talked about this previously, but I think it's important to highlight: clients or customers, depending upon what business you're in, prospects, new potential clients or customers, centers of influence, which some people call referral sources, and the strategic partners, right? Okay. Strategic alliances. There's all different kinds of words that suggest this person could be complementary to what we're doing and vice versa. They could become a referral source. And fourth, and what a lot of people overlook, is their own back office. So in the world of financial services, it's very easy to say, okay, I want to touch all the most important people in my life this year. And there are critical times to do that. A birthday is a very obvious one. But Matt, for some reason, a lot of companies, they have the data, but they fail on the execution of deploying a birthday campaign. It's not complicated. We have simplified that process, okay? Secondarily is, holiday time, thank you, acknowledging gratitude and expressing appreciation. We don't just do that at holiday times. We do that throughout the year to mix it up, because most companies really do it in December, and we want to show up at unexpected times to stand out. Okay. With prospects, with centers of influence, It's the same thing. But when writing a handwritten note to somebody, okay, beyond a birthday, beyond a thank you, an actual handwritten note from me to Matt, it takes time to think about, well, what would I say to Matt? And what I found is two things really. Even though it only takes 5 minutes to write a handwritten note, it takes discipline. And a lot of people find that they're too busy to do it. The second challenge is a lot of people are not confident in their writing, their actual ability to convey a message. And I learned that over the years, and I came up with a very simple system. I have a questionnaire that is not specific about anything. It's more just, how long have you known this person? How did you meet this person? What would be one word that you would use to describe this person? What's a memory? And my clients share that information with me. I don't even need the person's name. It's just, what is it that you want to convey? And our team puts together a note. We send it electronically to our client. They review it. And if they like it, they put a pen to paper. And now they've conveyed a beautiful handwritten note that the person on the other end is going to say, wow, Matt really took a few minutes to write this, and I appreciate that. And the last point, Matt, I know I've touched on a couple things, is the back office. You know, those of us who work on teams, or we work on a team, but we're part of a larger organization, very important. Say thank you to those people. Reach out and say, hey, Elizabeth, I know that you get 100 inquiries a day. The fact that you were able to take mine and make it happen the way that we wanted it to, it's really very much appreciated. Some business owners would say, but Randy, that's not a money-making activity. And I'm going to argue the point to say, well, yeah, it is. Because if your team can become viewed as appreciative, then perhaps their inquiries go to the top of the list. And now all of a sudden you're servicing your clients more efficiently. So we really like to, and I know I've gone on, but we really like to be heartfelt about our messages and not talk about business, but talk about expressing gratitude. And people really appreciate it, Matt.
I think there's two things there. Number one, the fact that that you're creating the written message on behalf of your client and sending it out. I think correct me if I'm wrong, like my first inclination when I hear that, I wonder if you see any objections or obstacles in the marketplace to that concept. Because my first reaction when I hear that is, oh, well, that's so like inauthentic. I've got to do it. I can't outsource that function, but let's be honest, I'm not doing it, right? Most people, the vast majority of people are not doing it. So it's better to have it done than not done at all. And especially if you have that really comprehensive questionnaire up front to have someone, really give a good insight into the relationship. And then it's really just kind of like connecting the dots that your team is doing, and it's taking the weight and the to-do list task and the burden of that task off of the plate of your client, right?
Okay, so you said a lot there. Yes, I've gotten a ton of resistance, especially in financial services, because there's a confidentiality. But again, I never need to know the person's name or their net worth. Here's the analogy that I'll make, okay? When the president of the United States goes to speak in front of TV, do you think that he's written those words? He's reading off of a teleprompter, okay? What he's probably done is he has a group of smart people around him. They talk about the discussion and what the discussion points are. They then produce something and they give him a teleprompter that he can read off of, okay? That's one analogy that I'll make. And what I would tell you is that, unfortunately, a lot of very smart people, given the task to write a heartfelt note, they can't they can't execute because they have a difficult time, in my opinion, getting in touch with their feelings and what they really want to say. And it's hard to say to somebody, hey, I've been thinking about you. And I'm really so sorry for your loss. In the case of a sympathy thing, I don't know what to say, but I know that I needed to reach out to you. That simple message is something I worked on yesterday with a client, and they are just disconnected. They're disconnected. It's difficult. This guy happens to be in the construction business, and it was a very important person, and it was very important that they got a sympathy message. But for whatever the reason is, I'm not writing the note. I'm taking a can opener and I'm opening up their head and I'm extracting the information. And the most important thing is no notes go out if they don't feel authentic from you, because when that person gets it, they're going to call you and they're going to be appreciative. So if that was inauthentic, it's not going to work.
Well, and also what I'm hearing from you is that there's art to this, right? There's
Tremendous.
There's creative art. One of your talents, your unique ability is to get in touch with the emotion and put the words to it and develop that heartfelt message that other people don't have that unique ability, and that's okay. And because that's okay, that it's not everybody's unique ability, it's okay to partner with someone whose unique ability is that, and that's you, right? So it's not. That's how you overcome that kind of resistance to, well, that message should really come from me. Well, it is coming from you. It's using this conduit to put it into words.
Here, the last time somebody questioned me on it, he was a person from the hedge fund industry. And he said to me, like, if I can't write a note to somebody, then I shouldn't be deserving of their business. And I said, really? Did you ever buy a Hallmark card? That's the end of the discussion, because all day long people go into stores and they pick out the card that they like because it says what they can't conjure up, or they don't have time, or they don't want to. So I respect the debate, but all I'm doing, it's no different than what Hallmark has done for consumers for years. I'm doing it for business professionals. Mm-hmm. And by the way, while we're talking about it, on the subject of birthday and thank you and things like this, these touches that we know we want to make, I've gone so far to be like Hallmark, and I write in ahead of time, leaving just enough room for a hug and a kiss with love from Matt and Julie on the team, and we brand it. So it looks like your company, whatever kind of company it is, you have your own package of like ridiculously high-end, branded, already written. So nobody needs to come up with the message, okay? Right. So there's different ways to skin a cat, but it's all about, in my opinion, McKinsey, word of mouth. I'm not that smart, Matt. You and I provide valuable services and products to companies that are in another business, but they need us, right? So the challenge that I have for me on a daily basis, and you as we get to know each other and we'll do all kinds of things together, is how do we, that I figured out how to add the most value is by working with clients almost as a case study. And going, here's what I have to offer. Let's see what you can do with it. And in doing so, what came to light very quickly was, I need a questionnaire. Mm-hmm. And that was when the questionnaire was born.
Got it. So the other important thing that you hit on is something that I think is unique. People don't often think about gratitude to their suppliers and service providers and back office and vendors and whatever that term is in your business. We've all got them, right? We all depend on people so that we can deliver the goods to our clients, right? Yeah. And so it's the first step that I think that people recognize, innately, is to show appreciation to their clients and then to their referral sources, centers of influence, as you enumerated before. But showing appreciation to the back office and supplier side of things is something that, saying thanks when the job is done is something that we probably all do, but going so far as to deploy an actual strategy around showing that appreciation. That's like you were saying before, when a person on back office staff has, a few different things to get to, maybe they get to ours first if we're the ones who have routinely shown them appreciation and gone out of our way to give a heartfelt message of thanks, right? So
and they do.
They do, right?
They do.
It's human nature. Who are you going to think of first? When it's not like there's science to it, right? Like if you're top of mind and if you're if you're emotionally invested, then that's how relationships work.
Right.
So what's interesting about that is that it also helps, to the concept of an irresistible brand, right? What I love, and I've referenced before on other episodes of this, and also, I talk about it from time to time because I think it hits a lot of points of business, is this book, Setting the Table by Danny Meyer, restaurateur from New York, where he talks about the inverted service model, where typically we think of, of those that we come in contact with in order of importance, starting with financial stakeholders of the business, then customers / clients, then the community where we do business, then the service providers and vendors that we work with, and then our employees, right? Mm-hmm. And maybe I butchered the order of that, but what his take on it is to invert that and take care of your employees first, take care of your vendors and service providers second, take care of your community, then take care of your customers and clients, and then worry about the financial stakeholders, and it'll all work out financially in the end, right? But that's part of achieving an irresistible brand is being deliberate about showing your appreciation and showing your love for your service providers and those other folks that you depend on in your business. Aside from just the financial stakeholders and the clients that you serve.
How about this? Coworkers. I had a client up in the Northeast a few years ago, and they had I'll call it a bullpen for lack of a better way there was private offices around the perimeter, and in the middle there was workstations where, they sat pretty close, but the reason I'm sharing the story with you is there was some turmoil among these people, and they worked so close to one another. And by the time that we got through with me going in there and rolling up my sleeves, we were in the conference room, all three of us crying together. And their relationship never got better. The reason I'm bringing it up to you is people have a very difficult time reaching in and taking responsibility and saying to the person they've been sitting 6 feet from, this is my problem. And I went in there, and with the same can opener that I opened someone's mind to figure out what they'd love to say to somebody if they found the time and knew how with words, it was almost like a psychology session. Not that I'm a psychologist, but we got down to the truth. And once the truth came out and they were talking to each other authentically, everything was repaired. And from there, Matt, you'd appreciate this, that upside down model that you just described, fixing that originally, that was really important. And you may go, but that's got nothing to do with sending handwritten notes. And I said, I know, Matt, but it's the same thing. And having that harmony and having that mutual respect and open and honest communication with your coworkers, your back office, your suppliers, your everybody, it feeds the whole system. And it's really good stuff. So,
well, yeah, the big takeaway, the big thing that we've hit on as we kind of bring this in for a landing is the emotional connection. That's what you have a unique ability to do in your business. That's why you're of value to your clients, because you have the ability to extract that emotional connection and put it on paper. And that's what we all are trying to do in building our brand. And that's what, when we have a connection with a brand that we can classify as an irresistible brand, right? Yeah. Why do you refer the brand? Why are you that blabbermouth that we talked about earlier to talk so highly of this company that it's not your company? You're not financially invested in it, but you're talking about them and you're trying to refer them on. Maybe you even work there and you are, you're just so impressed with and so engaged with the company that you're within that you're an advocate for your employer or a coworker, like you just mentioned. It's all because of the emotional connection that we forge, and that's what brands are all seeking to do. They're all seeking to create that emotional connection with their clients, with their suppliers, with the entire community, with everyone that they come in contact with. And
right. So, just in closing,
but the emotion has to be in there. If it's just a 2-word message, it doesn't have that same real hook to it.
Right. And what I was going to say in closing, and thank you for your time. I think this has been a great discussion. You and I have to talk offline about all kinds of things, but my tagline of my company is a personal touch in the digital age. And by the way, you know what I'm saying? It's my tagline, but it applies to what you do too, right? It's a personal touch in the digital age. Somebody receives a hat or a backpack that you created for their company. It's a personal touch. And it's not digital. It's not an email. It's not a text. So you and I share that. My vehicle is usually a note card. Your vehicle is more often a product, right?
Wow, yeah.
So
but it has to be tied back to the brand, and it has to make sense strategically. So again, it all comes back to that emotional connection, right? If the product is not connected with the brand values, then it's not going to make it the same impact. And so it still goes back to that heartfelt message. How do you convey a heartfelt message through a product? And how do you convey a heartfelt message through a handwritten card, right?
Right. Well, this has been awesome, and I thank you so much.
Really appreciate it, Randy. And
it's my pleasure.
So again, Randy Ostrow, founder of Ostrow Advisory Services. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Irresistible Brand podcast. I hope you enjoyed our conversation. Again, I'm Matt Deutschman from Doubletake Promotional Marketing, where we specialize in promotional products and branded merchandise with a focus on the strategic initiatives of client appreciation, referral generation, employee engagement and retention, and recruiting and onboarding. Organizations that execute those areas well create an irresistible brand. If you haven't checked it out yet, visit doubleTakeBrandBarometer.com for our quick 5-minute assessment to see how well your organization performs in those areas and get some advice on where you can improve and where you can leverage existing strengths. Our mission is to help you make your brand irresistible. See you again next time.